How you doing, everybody? Happy Easter. We're going to make this really quick so you can get back to your family. I meant to do this last night and first thing this morning, but, family and food and all the good stuff for Easter weekend. Hope you're able to celebrate Easter with friends and family, and God bless everybody out there. Blessings for a safe new year, safe racing, and God bless you and your family on this Easter. Here in the Chicago area, it's beautiful weather today, a little bit cool with a breeze. So it was nice to kind of be outside with the dogs and the kids for a little bit today. But, warm weather is coming. So hopefully you guys had a good time. Hopefully you caught the Supercross last night. What an unbelievable round last night. It was round 12 in St. Louis. Let's jump right into it. Tonight is week 14 of Exhaust Noise. We'll look at round 12 of the Supercross Championship, the Dome at America Center, the East-West Showdown, and St. Jude's Weekend in St. Louis, which delivered the tightest 450 championship battle in Supercross history. Roczen checks out, Deegan dominates, and the East-West Showdown gives us a preview of the future of the sport. Plus, we look ahead into Nashville Supercross next weekend as the title fight hits maximum pressure. Let's fire it up and jump right in. From the heart of the Midwest and the home of American horsepower, this is Exhaust Noise Podcast, your Chicago-born Midwest-built motorsports show. I'm your host, Kenny Abbott, and tonight we've got a quick yet massive show. But before we dive right in, I want to remind everybody to support privateer Supercross racers by visiting Pulp MX, PULPMX.com, and make a donation there. Privateers keep this sport alive. Pulp MX is a great opportunity, and they actually help pay for entry fees, and they have their own race coming up later on this year. Go to pulpmx.com, get all the information, but donate $20, $50, $100 if you're into the motocross side of things, the dirt track side of things. If you want to support other privateers in the sport, go to pulpmx.com, PULPMX.com, make a donation, support the privateers in the Supercross Championship. You can make a massive difference in the lives of other people, especially this Easter weekend. So let's jump right into qualifying at St. Louis. Holy cow, I'm telling you, this was one of the best Supercross weekends of the year so far. This is round 12 of the Supercross Championship. Remember, the 250s split up east-west. But 450 qualifying was one of the tightest sessions we've seen all year. The top 10 450 riders were all separated by less than a second. It was incredible. And it was Jorge Prado on the KTM that went fastest. He threw down a 56.048, and it wasn't even like he was on the gas. He was taking kind of awkward lines. It looked like he was just sort of checking out the track, and then all of a sudden he's got a 56.048, and everyone was like, what just happened? It didn't even look like he was, running quick. It just was such a super easy lap. So Prado just found something there that worked for him, and the entire field was stacked behind him. Again, the top 10 riders all were less than a second off Prado's first qualifying time. So this was just a preview of the chaos to come. In the 250 qualifying, they did separate them east versus west. So the Star Yamaha sets the pace. Deegan and Davies. Deegan on the west coast, Davies on the east coast. They both went 1-2. They both led their session, both confident and pretty aggressive. Deegan, however, we'll get to here. Deegan threw down a 53.799. Not only was it the fastest of all the 250s, east and west, it was also faster than all the 450s. It was just an unbelievable lap. And honestly, he threw down a couple of those. He was in the 55s, which at the time was lower than the 450s. He then got into the 54s and then threw down this 53.799. And even the commentators on the show were like, what in the heck just happened? And so Deegan, I think, just getting lined up for that 450 ride next year. He's getting he's done with his championship now. He already clinched the 250 West championship. So now he can just focus on the 450 that he's going to ride outdoor for the rest of the year. So Yeah, it was a ridiculous lap. So Deegan Davies go 1-2 in qualifying, both ride for the Star Yamaha team. Like I said, Deegan throws down a 53.799, even faster than all the 450 riders. Kitchen was pretty quick as well. He threw down a 55.706, Yoder a 55.936. So they were pretty quick there. Kitchen's time would have placed him somewhere mid-pack in the 450s, and then the other session had Hammaker, Shimoda, and Davies. So Hammaker, Shimoda, and Davies, actually had really good laps as well. Hammaker went 54.6, Shimoda 54.7. So those three riders, as expected, were at the top of their field. Three riders there: Davies, Hammaker, and Shimoda, separated by 54 hundredths of a second. So 0.054 seconds in the 250 East class. But combined, Deegan still topped all qualifiers, 250s and 450s. And the final 450 qualifying looked like this. Kenny Roczen took over. He threw down a 54.5 in the final qualifying session. So Roczen, a 54.5. Sexton, who good to see him back at form, sort of. I mean, he looked really good in practice. He looked good in qualifying. Didn't take a ton of laps, but still had some really fast times. He unfortunately had a major issue in the main. I don't have it in my notes later for the main, but here's what happened: is he was actually running top 10 in the main, had a pretty good night because he was coming back from injury, and he had a pretty good night lined up for himself. And then it's almost like he lost track of where he was at in the whoop section and just cased the whoop, and then he crashed. He kind of regathers himself, did like a half a lap, and then bailed and went back to the truck. So he was done. Haven't seen an injury report on him. Haven't seen anything from his team yet to know what happened, but he just cased that thing hard. It looks like he took it pretty hard to the rib cage, to the stomach, maybe the nads. And so it was not a good night for Sexton once he got into the main event. But before that, he looked really good on the Kawasaki and was doing good things, and was good to see him back. Malcolm Stewart was up to third in qualifying, so a 55.3 for him. Prado 55.8, Webb on the Yamaha 55.9. Eli Tomac was just off all night. He didn't have a great night, but maintained some solid points and some solid finishes. He was sixth fastest with a 56.081. Keep in mind, Roczen was on quote unquote pole with a 54.5, Tomac a 56 flat, 56.081. And then Lawrence, your points leader prior to this round, a 56.1. So it was kind of strange. But Tomac and Lawrence, remember, these are the two guys fighting for the championship at the top right now. So Tomac and Lawrence, at least they were together at 6th and 7th in regards to qualifying on Saturday night. Roczen's speed was real, and it translated directly into the main event. But first, let's look at the 250 showdown. Let's look at the 250 main. Hole shot and early laps it looked like Cole Davies was going to step it up. So Cole Davies grabbed the hole shot. Hammaker and Romano slotted back into P2, P3. And then at the start of lap 2, Deegan had to creep up from back in 5th. He got buried at the start. So he starts back worse than 5th. I couldn't see what the official start was for Deegan, but he was outside the top 5 at the start as his teammate Davies got the hole shot. But Deegan immediately started kind of slicing back through the field. At the 9:30 mark, Deegan had finally caught up to the two Kawasaki's of Hammaker and Romano in 2nd and 3rd, and he was able to get by those guys. And then another few seconds later, he's finally on the back wheel of Cole Davies. So the teammates kept it clean, both protecting their respective East-West title hopes. Again, Davies is protecting his lead in the 250 East Championship, and Deegan was trying to close out his 250 West Championship. But the pace difference was obvious. The whoop section was the biggest difference, and Deegan just ripped through the whoops, and he looked like James Stewart from back in the day, just just zipping right across the top of the whoops, and he had a line. Him and Ken Roczen, to be honest, Ken Roczen and Deegan both had a line through the whoop section that was different than almost everybody else in the entire in the entire venue, and they made it work for them, and they both had the best lap times of the night. So whoops was the big difference. Deegan was devastating through the whoops. Davies just didn't really have the pace or the rhythm to keep up with them, and he ended up sliding back a little bit. But the pass for the lead came just under the 9-minute mark as Deegan took the lead and ended up checking out. 4.5-second gap back to Davies with 8 minutes to go, and over 16-second lead at the finish. It was a historic win for Deegan, and he was able to clinch that 250 West championship. Deegan clinches the second consecutive 250 West championship, becoming only the third rider in history to wrap it up this early with 2 rounds remaining. His career stats in that class: 37 starts, 13 wins, and 24 podiums. Just a devastating 2 years for the rest of the field, as Deegan makes it known that he's the best 250 rider in the country, period. So the top 10 in the main event looked like this. It was Deegan and Davies, both on the Star Yamahas, 1-2. Hammaker on the Kawasaki was third to round out the podium. Thrasher on the other Yamaha was fourth. DeFrancisco on the Husqvarna was fifth. His teammate Bennick was sixth. Levi Kitchens was seventh on the Kawasaki. Simonson on a Yamaha was eighth. Romano on the Kawasaki. Remember, he was battling for second place early on. He fell all the way back to ninth. And then Voland on a Yamaha rounded out the top 10. So championship notes there. 250 West, Deegan was crowned the champion. 250 East, Davies leaves Hammaker going into the next round at Nashville next weekend. Let's look at the 450 class. Comeback Kenny strikes again. Hunter Lawrence grabbed the whole shot. Prado then moved into the lead early on. And at the start of lap number 2, Comeback Kenny Roczen executes a double pass on both Lawrence and Prado. And so that was just under the 19-minute mark. And from there, that Suzuki was gone. Roczen starts the checkout process and had a flawless ride all night. It was great to see Kenny Roczen on that Suzuki, just, back at top form. He had a 3-second lead at the 17-minute mark, a 6-second lead before they even got to halfway, and closed out the show with a 12-second lead at the finish. The mid-race shuffle, Prado held on to second for most of the race. Lawrence, who has led the championship for most of the rounds coming into the last couple, and Justin Cooper were battling for third for most of the race. They had a really good battle. So Lawrence on the Honda, Cooper on the Yamaha. Tomac, as I mentioned, looked off. He was up there with the leaders to begin with, but when Lawrence and Cooper, well, Lawrence was always right there. Cooper came from a little bit farther back. When Cooper came by Tomac had nothing for him. Didn't challenge him. They didn't go back and forth. Cooper just went by Tomac and got straight to Lawrence and was on Lawrence's back wheel, and they battled for third for most of the race. So there was really no fight in him. Same with Webb. Webb ended up challenging Tomac, went right by him. Sexton, Stewart, Savacci, Marbanks were all in the mix. So it was a really good race inside the top 10. Positions going back and forth. It looked really good for those guys. At the 7-minute mark, 7 minutes remaining, Cooper and Lawrence finally caught Prado, who was running in second, and then Webb passed Tomac, as I mentioned, with zero resistance. So that shuffles the order, where Prado then slid back to fourth behind Cooper and Lawrence, who were battling for that second, third place spot. Webb now was in fifth, Tomac back to sixth. So when that checker flag fell, it was Kenny Roczen on the Suzuki that just just did everybody wrong. I mean, he just checked out. I'm telling you, probably one of the most dominant rides of the entire season so far. So if anybody had question about Kenny Roczen, I think he's back. I think he's feeling good. The team's working well together, and clearly that Suzuki is on point. It was Cooper on the Yamaha second. Lawrence finished third on the Honda. Prado on the KTM was fourth. Webb on a Yamaha fifth. Behind them, it was Tomac on the KTM sixth. Savacci on the Honda seventh. The Husqvarna of Stewart was eighth. Kawasaki of Marchbanks was ninth. And Ferrandis on the Ducati was 10th. So this does shake up the championship quite a bit. As we mentioned, coming in, Lawrence held onto that red plate and the championship lead for most of the series. He was just consistently getting those second place runs and held on to the championship. Tomac was making a good push, and he actually led the championship coming out of Detroit coming into this race. So Tomac and Lawrence now are tied for the championship lead at 145 points coming out of St. Louis. And Roczen, with this win, is able to pull within 5 points of both of them that share the lead. So you've got 3 riders within 5 points of the championship. Tomac and Lawrence lead at 145 points. Roczen is in third place with 140 points. And this is officially the tightest 450 Supercross championship battle in the history of Supercross at this stage of the championship. 3 riders, 5 points with only 4 rounds to go. It's absolute chaos, and Nashville is going to be a crazy race. This is when everybody heads outside. Almost every race thus far, a lot of the races thus far have been indoors for a while. Now we go back outdoors. We get to Nashville, goes back outdoors, where there's going to be a massive rhythm section. It rewards rhythm and precision, whoop speed. You got to get a clean start in Nashville as well. That's going to make a big difference. Riders who adapt to the moisture. It has a tendency to rain down there this week. So the riders who are able to adapt to the moisture and the track, we'll probably see some advantages there as the championship moves, like as we said, to outside venues for the remainder of the championship. So momentum right now is with Roczen, Cooper, and of course Deegan, but I don't foresee Deegan doing any more rounds this year. I think he's done. I think he's won his championship. Now he's focusing on other things. He doesn't want to get hurt, get taken out, have something crazy happen that's going to affect his outdoor season. And rebound, I think I want to see Tomac rebound. Sexton, we'll see if he has sustained any serious injuries. Maybe he can get back into it. And Malcolm Stewart, who had a good finish at Detroit, finishing third, and he was able to mix it up a little bit in the top 10. But it'd be good to see Stewart back in podium contention as we get down there. So St. Louis just delivered. If you can find the race on Peacock, you should watch it back. It is, like I said, watch the qualifying, watch everything. It was an amazing event. Feld Motorsports does such a good job of putting on this race. So many good storylines coming into this event, some great storylines coming out of it. So catch the Nashville Supercross live next weekend on Peacock. Again, you can watch everything live all day on Peacock. You just gotta sign up for Peacock. As the 450 class tightens up, again, 3 riders within 5 points. It's anyone's game at this point. And even the riders back behind them in fourth and fifth, they're actually pretty close in points as well. So we'll see what ends up happening. That's it for tonight. Again, happy Easter to everybody. Hopefully you had a great afternoon, a great day to spend with friends and family. You've been listening to Exhaust Noise, your Midwest home for real motorsports talk. No hype, no fluff, just verified results and the stories that matter. I'm Kenny Abbott. We'll see you next week as the championship in Supercross pressure hits Nashville. Support your local dealers, support your local tracks, and as always, keep the noise alive, everybody. We'll see you next week.